Across vast wildernesses, a pack of wild dogs can turn a brief chase into a precision attack, thanks to their speed, stamina, and coordination. They fan out, close the distance, and maintain relentless pressure until their prey has no chance of escape. While many hunts end in success, every quarry presents a unique challenge. So what enables the pack to triumph? Across the vast savannas and grasslands of East and Southern Africa, impalas typically inhabit areas near open woodlands, scrub, and reliable water sources. They remain constantly vigilant, watching, listening, and sniffing the air to detect danger early. At the first sign of trouble, they flee immediately, as maintaining distance from predators is their most critical survival advantage. This outcome demonstrates that while the impala relies on vigilance, speed, and maintaining distance, the wild dog excels in stamina and pack coordination. Once the impala is isolated and exhausted, the wild dog's advantages become decisive. Following the hunt, the prey becomes a vital source of energy for the pack's survival. Exhaustion eventually compels the impala to return to the shore, where the wild dogs have already spread out to surround it. Some close in from behind, while others flank the sides, forcing the impala to constantly change direction and further deplete its energy. As it fails to maintain its speed, the gap closes, and the wild dogs ultimately triumph in the chase. That advantage is quickly compromised when a pack of wild dogs silently closes in before suddenly accelerating. The herd scatters, but during a sudden change of direction, one individual becomes separated, losing the protection of the group's collective movement. The pack immediately targets this lone animal, tailing it relentlessly and forcing it to plunge into the water in a desperate bid for escape as its strength wanes. Across the arid and semi-arid landscapes of Africa, the oryx traverses vast terrain with a robust build, powerful shoulders and neck, and long legs. Its nearly straight horns, which can reach lengths of around 3 feet in some species, serve as an effective defensive weapon when the animal turns to face a predator. It is precisely this defense that compels the pack of wild dogs to wait for a more opportune moment. That opportunity arises when an oryx slows down at the edge of the herd. The wild dogs immediately break formation. One group stays close on its tail, while the others flank it from the sides, forcing the prey to change direction. They skillfully avoid the horns, maintaining a safe distance while keeping up the pressure and waiting for their quarry to exhaust itself. As the oryx slows, the gap closes. It turns to defend itself before resuming its flight, but the wild dogs take turns closing in from multiple directions, preventing the prey from widening the distance. The hunt concludes with a victory for the wild dogs, illustrating the balance between the oryx's defensive capabilities and the predator's endurance and coordination within the ecosystem. Warthogs are primarily distributed across sub-Saharan Africa, inhabiting savannas, grasslands, open woodlands, and semi-arid scrublands near water sources or mud wallows. In open terrain, they react swiftly to danger, typically choosing flight over a fight. However, when cornered, their defensive instincts kick in, turning their large tusks into weapons of self-defense. A foraging warthog is about to face a situation that forces it to trigger this survival mechanism. As the pack of wild dogs springs from its resting spot, the warthog immediately detects the danger and bolts toward open ground. The hunting pack closes in, flanking the animal and repeatedly forcing it to change direction. The gap narrows, with pursuers pressing from behind and the path ahead becoming increasingly unfavorable. The warthog finds itself cornered. With its escape route cut off, the warthog stops, turns, and lowers its tusks to face the approaching pack. It charges at the nearest dogs, forcing their formation to scatter and retreat. The attack fails, demonstrating that speed and coordination are not always the deciding factors. When cornered, a counterattack using its tusks allows the warthog to keep its pursuers at bay and survive. Across the vast grasslands of Tanzania and the Serengeti Mara ecosystem, wildebeest migrate seasonally in search of grazing and water. Upon sensing danger, they typically react swiftly and run as a herd, as maintaining a tight formation minimizes the risk of any individual becoming isolated. However, during a sudden burst of speed by the herd, one wildebeest lost its rhythm and began to fall behind. As soon as this gap opened up, the pack of wild dogs immediately shifted their pursuit toward the straggler. The wildebeest attempted to accelerate and rejoin the herd ahead, but the wild dogs stayed close on its heels, repeatedly forcing it to change direction. Each change of course widened the gap between the animal and the main herd, while the pursuers closed in. As the distance from the herd grew, the wildebeest's pace slowed noticeably. Seizing the opportunity, the wild dogs converged from multiple angles and successfully concluded the hunt. These events demonstrate that maintaining a herd formation helps wildebeest reduce the risk of separation, whereas the endurance and coordination of wild dogs allow them to exploit isolated individuals, thereby contributing to the balance of the natural ecosystem. In the sub-Saharan savanna, where lions are primarily found in East and Southern Africa, an adult lion moves across open ground amidst grasslands, open woodlands, and semi-arid scrub. Driven by the instinct to defend its territory, its pack, and its food sources, the lion remains constantly ready to react should a rival venture too close. However, on this occasion, its movements catch the attention of a pack of wild dogs ahead. The pack immediately converges, splitting up to approach from multiple directions and taking turns lunging to intimidate the lion. One dog closes in from behind while another flanks it, forcing the lion to pivot. As the circle tightens, the lion spins sharply and charges straight at a nearby dog. The dog instantly dodges and the pack scatters, only to regroup and renew the pressure moments later. The next approach plays out differently. The lion proactively charges at the closest dogs, forcing them to veer aside and stretching their formation thin. The wild dogs attempt to press forward, but each counterattack drives some of them further back. Their resolve begins to waver, and the cohesion of the circle breaks down. Ultimately, the pack is forced to retreat, leaving the lion holding its ground. This encounter demonstrates that while numbers, speed, and coordination allow wild dogs to exert pressure, these traits are insufficient to overwhelm a formidable opponent in a direct confrontation. For the lion, reflexes and defensive instincts enable it to break the encirclement and launch a counterattack. When the risks outweigh the potential rewards, retreating allows the pack to avoid injury. Across much of sub-Saharan Africa, spotted hyenas inhabit savannas, grasslands, open woodlands, scrublands, semi-deserts, and even some mountainous areas. Adults typically weigh between 88 and 176 pounds, boasting high shoulders, powerful necks, and well-developed jaw muscles, attributes sufficient to keep many rivals at bay. However, when a food source is at stake, that safety margin shifts. A pack of wild dogs appears and rapidly fans out, encircling the hyena from multiple directions. The hyena immediately pivots to defend itself, constantly shifting position to track adversaries closing in from both front and rear. Each time it lunges in one direction to drive back an attacker, the rest of the pack surges in from the opposite side, steadily weakening its defense. As the pressure mounts from all sides, the hyena begins to retreat from the food source, only to suddenly turn and fight back once more. Yet, the wild dogs press their advantage, forcing the hyena further away until it finally breaks into a run. Immediately, the pack returns to claim the food source. This confrontation demonstrates that while a hyena's individual strength allows for formidable defense, the wild dog's superior numbers and coordination give them the upper hand in this scenario. Securing the food source also grants them temporary dominance over the immediate foraging area. Such competitions shape how predators share food and territory, and how they maintain their respective positions within the ecosystem. Across sub-Saharan Africa, Nile crocodiles inhabit freshwater systems, while other species are widely distributed throughout the tropics. They possess massive skulls, powerful jaws, and robust bodies and tails. Male saltwater crocodiles can exceed 17 feet in length and weigh over 1,000 pounds, delivering a bite force of approximately 3,700 pound force. At the water's edge, a crocodile lies in wait, concealed from a pack of wild dogs that are approaching the water, oblivious to the danger. The gap between the two closes as one wild dog leans close to the water's surface while the crocodile remains motionless. Suddenly, the predator lunges, clamping its jaws onto the prey and dragging it back into the river. The pack rushes to the bank, constantly shifting positions in a bid to rescue their companion. But each time the crocodile retreats deeper, the prey is pulled further away. As the distance widens, it becomes too dangerous for the wild dogs to venture into the water. They race along the bank for a few more seconds in a final, desperate attempt, but are ultimately forced to stop. The confrontation ends in victory for the crocodile. The rescue attempt fails, and the prey becomes a source of protein and energy-rich fat for the predator. Wild dogs may not be the most physically imposing predators, but their speed, endurance, and coordination allow the pack to maintain pressure until the right opportunity arises. Each encounter demonstrates that success stems not merely from raw power, but from the ability to observe, adapt, and respond to different adversaries. In the wild, the advantage belongs to those who can transform the collective strength of the pack into a survival strategy. In nature documentaries, lions are often depicted as symbols of strength, appearing confident and dominant in many hunts. But in reality, victory isn't just about muscle or a powerful roar. Terrain, distance, timing, and the opponent's reaction can all change the entire course of events. So, in nature, what ultimately determines who gains control? Lions dominate the vast grasslands and scrublands of Africa, where the horizon unfolds like a battlefield with no hiding places. By day, they lie still in the shade of trees to conserve energy. But as the light fades, the savannah begins to stir. In the twilight, every step of the lion carries the feeling that a hunt could erupt at any moment. A lion's instinct isn't just about strength, but about the ability to choose the right moment to strike. They observe for a long time before accelerating, maintaining distance until the prey reveals the slightest vulnerability. When the signal appears, the entire pride moves almost simultaneously, creating pressure that causes the opponent to panic. On the savannah, victory often belongs to the one who controls the decisive moment. In the Serengeti and Masai Mara, hyenas are distributed along wildebeest migration routes, where food is readily available year-round. They are widespread throughout sub-Saharan Africa and often congregate near water sources, open grasslands, and prey movement paths. The open spaces and high population density provide a wide field of vision. Therefore, any solitary movement is quickly revealed and easily detected. Along the territorial boundary on the savannah, a male lion encounters a lone hyena and immediately stops to observe. It adjusts its approach and waits for the opportune moment. When the hyena changes direction, the lion closes the distance, and the increasing pressure forces the opponent to move constantly and gradually lose its rhythm. The constant pressure makes it impossible for the hyena to maintain a safe distance, even with quick reactions. The lion closes in, locks its position, and narrows the remaining gap, bringing the situation back under control. In a short time, the situation is no longer reversible. This situation clearly shows that in a highly competitive environment, hyenas survive through persistence and the ability to apply pressure. But when forced into a direct confrontation and losing control of the distance, the advantage diminishes rapidly, and the outcome is often decided in seconds. Among the open grasslands and semi-deserts of Africa, cheetahs operate in spacious areas with few obstacles and unobstructed views. In the Serengeti, they often perch on high mounds to observe from a distance before moving, thus choosing the appropriate approach. Their slender bodies, weighing between 90 and 150 pounds, allow for very rapid acceleration over short distances. But this advantage is dependent on the distance. When space is limited, speed decreases significantly, and they become vulnerable. It was this narrowed gap that caused the two lions to split up and approach from opposite sides, gradually blocking the escape route. They didn't rush in, but synchronized their movements, slowly narrowing the area and waiting for the right moment. Before the cheetah could create any escape route, one lion accelerated at close range, while the other cut off its escape, forcing the cheetah to constantly change direction and gradually lose its rhythm. The cheetah's speed advantage was quickly lost, and the momentum shifted. The lions closed in, taking advantageous positions and blocking all escape routes, narrowing its options. In just a few seconds, the cheetah had no more space to escape. Its speed advantage was completely neutralized, ending the confrontation in a very short time. Spread across the savannas and open grasslands of East and Southern Africa, they move constantly in Botswana, Tanzania, Kenya, and Zimbabwe. In the Okavango Delta, prides can travel tens of kilometers a day to follow herds of antelope, maintaining a pace instead of ambushing, and thus controlling distance well. The open space allows them to observe from afar, but when the formation is stretched, pressure increases almost immediately, creating opportunities for exploitation. From the leeward side, a male lion appeared as the pack of cubs gathered and separated from their rhythm. So it didn't rush in. It lowered its body, remained silent, and gradually closed the distance, preparing for a burst of speed. When close enough, the lion accelerated suddenly, striking at their weak points and forcing the entire pack to scatter, completely disrupting their formation. The safe distance was eliminated. The cubs didn't have time to rejoin the pack, and the situation immediately changed. The lion pressed relentlessly, blocking their movement and applying pressure with each step, narrowing all escape routes. Two cubs were caught in the chaos, forcing the entire pack to retreat. The lion quickly regained control, and the situation became irreversible. Crocodiles are distributed along rivers, lakes, swamps, and wetlands throughout Africa, where abundant water provides favorable conditions for their habitat. They have long, low bodies, thick skin covered with tough scales, a strong snout with a wide jaw, 4 short but sturdy legs, and a muscular tail, which help their bodies adapt effectively to aquatic and coastal environments. However, when out of the water, their ability to control and move is significantly reduced. On the muddy riverbank, the lion noticed the crocodile heading towards the water. It lowered its body, approached from the side, and maintained a steady pace. The distance shortened with each step. The crocodile turned, and the lion surged forward, cutting off its path back to the water and forcing it to change direction on land. The distance to the water's edge was no longer enough for the crocodile to return in time. The lion closed in, maintaining an advantageous position and limiting its reaction. The environmental advantage was gone, and its control rapidly diminished. The outcome favored the lion. The crocodile had no chance of returning to the water. Leopards are widely distributed across savanna grasslands, woodlands, rainforests, mountainous regions, and even semi-desert areas throughout Africa. Their adaptability allows them to live in a variety of environments. They often utilize large trees, bushes, and rocky outcrops for resting, hiding, and observing their surroundings. However, when forced to move underground, that advantage diminishes rapidly, and any movement becomes easily detectable. From a hidden vantage point in the forest, a male lion noticed a leopard leaving a branch and moving along the ground, so it didn't approach immediately. It maintained its distance, observing the leopard's movement and waiting for the right moment, gradually closing the gap. When close enough, the lion accelerated, forcing its opponent to constantly change direction, thus putting the situation at a disadvantage. As space tightened, the leopard could no longer maintain a safe distance, and its advantage began to diminish. The lion closed in, locking its position and maintaining pressure step by step, restricting all possible movement. In a short time, complete control was established, and the situation became irreversible. This sequence of events shows that the leopard maintained its advantage through caution and the ability to retreat at the right time. Therefore, when it lost space, its options diminished rapidly. When the distance was lost, the outcome was often decided within seconds. In the savannas and open grasslands of East and Southern Africa, wildebeest congregate in massive herds during the Great Migration, traveling thousands of kilometers from Serengeti to Masai Mara, following water sources and pastures. This constant rhythm of movement allows the entire herd to maintain distance and a wide field of vision. Therefore, any movement away from the herd is quickly noticed, and leaves easily recognizable signs. From those signs, a lion lowers its body and observes the herd from a safe distance, not rushing to approach. It adjusts its movement, waits for the right moment, and then gradually closes the distance. When a herd slows down and deviates from the herd, the lion accelerates quickly, forcing the herd to change direction and push it away from the safe zone. The herd's movement starts to deviate from the herd, rendering attempts to rejoin ineffective, and the situation quickly becomes unstable. The lion follows closely, applying pressure and continuously closing the gap, limiting all options. In just a few seconds, the ability to maintain distance disappears, and control shifts entirely to the lion. In that disconnected state, the wildebeest's advantage is no longer maintained. Their strength lies in numbers and the synchronicity of the entire herd. Therefore, when separated, the advantage diminishes rapidly. Without support, the situation closes in a very short time. In the African savanna and grasslands, buffalo often congregate near rivers and water sources, where conditions for survival are stable. They live in large herds, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, maintaining tight formations and a wide observation range in open spaces. This environment allows for effective coordination among the herd, but also makes any separate movements easily noticeable. As the distance began to widen, the male lion noticed the buffalo had strayed from the herd and maintained a distance to observe. It adjusted its approach, waited for the right moment, and then gradually closed the distance. When the buffalo turned around, the lion accelerated quickly, forcing it to change direction and pushing the target further away, causing the distance to widen again. The buffalo tried to turn back, but was forced to constantly change direction, quickly destabilizing its rapid movement. The lion closed in, maintained a favorable position, and controlled its direction of movement, gradually shifting the initiative. In just a few seconds, the buffalo had no chance of rejoining the herd. In the herd structure, wild buffalo maintain safety through distance and coordination. Therefore, when separated, their advantage diminishes rapidly. When support is gone, the situation usually closes in a very short time. On the vast savanna, a pack of hyenas moves in silence, observing and waiting for the moment to strike. Just a moment of misstep, and they lunge, shattering the prey's formation in an instant. These hunts don't end with speed, but with sustained pressure until there's no escape. In many areas from Africa to Asia, leopards are adapted to dense forests, savannas, rocky mountains, and even areas near human settlements. They hunt alone, often stalking for long periods before striking in a matter of seconds, and frequently drag their prey up trees to prevent theft. This habit of holding on to their prey creates vulnerable moments for them to be targeted from the ground. From the edge of the bush, A hyena emerged, maintaining its distance and observing, gradually narrowing its approach. It didn't charge immediately, but circled, shifting the leopard's position, then suddenly closing in when an opening appeared. This abrupt change forced the leopard to retreat and switch to a defensive stance. The confrontation dragged on as the hyena continuously applied pressure with short approaches, forcing the leopard to change positions to secure its prey. The steady pressure eroded its advantage, forcing it to leave the area to avoid prolonged conflict. The battle concluded when the prey was seized, and control was no longer in the original hold. In battles like this, advantage is built on maintaining a steady pace over time rather than a single action. As the advantage erodes with each move, the ability to maintain control diminishes, and once control is lost, the chance of regaining it is almost non-existent. On the vast savannas near water sources, zebras move in large herds, relying on open space to observe danger from afar. They maintain tight formations, with individuals acting as lookouts and reacting very quickly to warning signals. This collective lifestyle gradually creates moments when the formation is easily disrupted. From afar on the grassland, a hyena spots a young zebra that has strayed from the herd and silently closes the distance. It doesn't charge immediately, waiting for the zebra's pace to slow down, then suddenly accelerates, causing the young zebra to panic and completely separate from the group, initiating a chase. The pursuit continues as the zebra repeatedly changes direction to rejoin the herd, but its paths of approach are cut off, gradually blocking its return. The hyena persistently pursues, adjusting its course and closing the gap with each step, until control shifts entirely to the predator. In this type of confrontation, the outcome is determined more by sustained pressure than by an initial burst of speed. When the pace shifts, the initial advantage quickly diminishes, and when the distance is no longer controlled, the outcome is almost predetermined. In the East African savanna, herds of wildebeest move across vast open spaces where clear visibility allows for early detection of danger. They live in large herds and react very quickly. The alertness of one individual is enough to send the entire herd accelerating. Their rhythm of life is tied to constant migration and foraging, and this very state gradually creates moments of chaos when threatened from multiple directions. From the edge of the bushes, a hyena emerges, maintaining its distance and observing, gradually closing the gap. It doesn't charge immediately, but maneuvers around, forcing the group to shift direction and disrupt their formation, then suddenly accelerates when the distance is close enough. This burst of speed instantly breaks the stability, causing the entire pack to fall apart in an instant. In this chaotic movement, an individual is separated from the group and forced to run alone, thus becoming the target of relentless pursuit. The hyena maintains pressure over a long distance, constantly cutting corners and closing the gap in rhythm. When the pace slows, control shifts completely to the predator, and the outcome is quickly established. In these chases, the outcome doesn't come from the initial burst of speed, but from maintaining pressure over time. When the formation breaks, gaps appear and are rarely filled in time. When the distance is controlled in rhythmic bursts, the outcome is almost irreversible. On the African savanna, lions, often called kings of the jungle, mainly live in savannas, grasslands, and scrublands, with a small population in India. In the Serengeti, they control territories of tens of square kilometers, where antelopes and zebras migrate annually. Lionesses are efficient hunters, but spend a lot of time resting to conserve energy. And it is this rhythm of life that creates vulnerable spaces for disturbance. On the savanna, a lioness resting on the grass spotted a pack of hyenas approaching. Instead of a direct attack, they fanned out in multiple directions, circling around to scout and draw attention, gradually forming a pincer movement. When the lioness charged to dislodge them, the hyenas dodged and immediately turned back, tightening the encirclement in rhythmic bursts. The lioness continuously maneuvered to counter the multiple approaches, while the hyenas maintained pressure through sheer numbers and brief skirmishes. Her declining stamina forced her to retreat to a safer position. The hyenas pursued, cutting across her path and narrowing the gap. The situation culminated when the lioness was forced to climb a tree, and control shifted to the hyenas. In this type of confrontation, the outcome gradually revealed itself through sustained pressure over time, rather than a single action. When the pace shifted, the initial advantage quickly diminished, and when the distance was no longer controlled, the outcome was almost predetermined. In the savanna and vast grasslands, African buffalo live in large herds, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, moving together to find food and observe for danger. They react strongly when threatened, especially when young are at risk, and the entire herd may turn to protect them. However, this dense movement gradually creates gaps that are difficult to maintain, thus opening up opportunities for exploitation. From the edge of the forest, a pack of hyenas maintained their distance and began harassing the buffalo herd to disrupt their formation. They moved in multiple directions, forcing the buffalo to constantly change direction. When an individual slowed down and strayed from the line, they accelerated, closing in and engaging in a deliberate pursuit. The separated buffalo had to run alone and try to return to the herd, but the intersecting approaches quickly eliminated the safe space. The hyenas took turns pursuing, maintaining pressure and closing the gap until control shifted. In such clashes, the outcome is shaped by sustained pressure rather than an initial burst of activity. When the formation is broken, gaps appear and are difficult to fill in time. When the distance is controlled in rhythmic movements, the result is almost predetermined. In the savannas and open forests, rhinos move alone, relying on their sense of smell and hearing to detect danger while having limited eyesight. They mark their territory clearly and generally avoid conflict unless provoked. This stable lifestyle gradually creates moments of slow reaction. leaving them vulnerable to approaches from multiple directions. On a wide grassland, a pack of hyenas encounters a group of rhinos and circles around them, observing their reaction, maintaining distance, and scrutinizing their movements. They maintain a steady rhythm, forcing their target to constantly turn, gradually closing the gap. When gaps appear, closing in occurs, pushing the situation into a corner. The confrontation drags on as the rhinos repeatedly accelerate to counterattack, but the changing approaches prevent them from maintaining a stable position, causing their reaction rhythm to gradually shift. The hyenas maintain pressure from multiple directions, controlling the distance until the tide turns in favor of the hyena pack. The outcome doesn't depend on individual strength, but on maintaining the rhythm of pressure and changing positions over time. When the reaction rhythm is disrupted, the initial advantage quickly diminishes, leading to a loss of local control. And once the distance has been gradually controlled, the outcome becomes almost irreversible. The common thread in every encounter is the hyena's ability to observe, coordinate, and maintain pressure with each movement. The key takeaway lies not in individual strength, but in controlling distance and disrupting the opponent's reaction rhythm. And once the rhythm is controlled, the outcome is often decided before a second chance arises.